By the mastery of self, a distinct form of consciousness is evolved, which some would call divine. It is distinguished from that ordinary human consciousness, which craves personal advantages and gratifications on the one hand, and is involved in remorse and sorrow on the other. This divine consciousness concerns itself with humanity and the universe, with eternal verities, with righteousness, wisdom, and truth, and not with pleasures, protection, and preservation of the personality. Not that personal pleasure is destroyed, but that it is no longer craved and sought. It no longer takes a foremost place. It is purified, and it is received as the effect of right thought and action, and is no longer an end in itself. In the divine consciousness, there is neither sin nor sorrow. Even the sense of sin has passed away, and the true order and purpose of life being revealed, no cause is found for lamentation. Jesus called this state of consciousness, quote, the kingdom of heaven, unquote. Buddha named it, quote, nirvana, unquote. And Lao Tzu's term for it was, quote, Tao, unquote. Emerson refers to it as, quote, the oversoul, unquote. And Dr. Bucky calls it, quote, cosmic consciousness, unquote, in his valuable work bearing that title. The ordinary human consciousness is self-consciousness. Self, the personality, is placed before everything else. There are ceaseless anxieties and fears concerning the self. Its possible loss is thought to be the most grievous calamity, and its eternal preservation the most important thing in the universe. In divine consciousness, all this has passed away. Self has disappeared. Therefore, there can be no more fears and anxieties concerning the self. And things are considered and known as they are, and not as they afford pleasure or cause pain to self, not as self wishes them to be for its own temporal or eternal happiness. The self-conscious man is subject to desire. The divinely conscious man is master of desire. The former considers what is pleasant or unpleasant. The latter acts from the righteous law without reference to pleasure or pain. The race is passing through self-consciousness to divine consciousness, through the slavery of self, with its sense of sin and shame, to the freedom of truth, with its sense of purity and power. The great teachers and saviors of the race have already attained. In former existences, they have already passed through all forms of self-consciousness, and now, having subjugated self, have become divinely conscious. They have reached the summit of evolution on this earth, and have no further need to be reborn in the self-conscious form. They are masters of life. Having conquered self, they have acquired the supreme knowledge. Some of them are worshipped as God because they manifest a wisdom and consciousness which is quite distinct from the normal self-consciousness of humanity, and which is therefore regarded with and shrouded by incomprehensible mystery. Yet, in this divine consciousness, there is no mystery, but, on the contrary, a transparent simplicity which becomes apparent when the confusions of self are dispersed. The abiding gentleness, the sublime wisdom, the perfect calm of the great teachers, qualities which appear supernatural when viewed from the self-consciousness state, are seen to be simple and natural when the first glimmering of divine consciousness dawns in the mind. And such divine consciousness does not appear until a high degree of morality is attained by the self-conscious man. Man becomes divinely conscious, divinely wise, divinely gentle and strong, in the measure that he subdues and dominates within those passions by which humanity is subdued and dominated. Man becomes divinely conscious, divinely gentle and strong, in the measure that he subdues and dominates within those passions by which humanity is subdued and dominated. The divine master is one who has attained to mastery of himself. The abiding morality, beneficent characteristics, and unobtrusive virtue, which mark both the spiritually enlightened are the fruits of self-conquest, the logical outcome of long struggle to master and comprehend those mental forces which self-conscious man divinely engaged with. Self-conscious man is enlightened, wise, and even more peaceful and happy is he who has subjected, overcome, and cast out the turbulent sound of the rain and wind. The tempests of sorrow do not chill him. The cares and troubles which beset man pass him by, and no evil thing attacks him. Secure in divine virtue, no enemy can overthrow him, no foe can do him harm. Kind and peaceful, no person, power, no place can rob him of repose. There is no enemy but self, no darkness but ignorance, no suffering but that which springs from the insubordinate elements of one's own nature. No man is truly wise who is involved in likes and dislikes, wishes and regrets, desires and disappointments, sins and sorrow. All these conditions belong to the self-consciousness and resort to the conquest of self. The conquest of territory renders a man